artist clash between her conscience and the dictates of a state law hit the U.S. Supreme Court today. Lori Smith owns and runs 303 Creative graphic design studio. She wants to expand her business to include wedding websites, but only for weddings between a man and a woman. Smith says a Colorado law banning discrimination based on sexual orientation threatens her business. And joining us tonight is Lori Smith and her attorney, Kelly Vidoric from the Alliance Defending Freedom. Welcome to you both. Lori, I want to start with you. I know that you left the corporate design world about 10 years ago to take on projects that were close to your heart. Tell us more about your work and your dream for your business.
Well, I create custom, unique, one-of-a-kind artwork through my business, 303 Creative, and I have clients from all different walks of life. I have clients who identify as LGBT. And while I serve everyone, I cannot promote every message through my business. There are some messages I'm unable to create for no matter who requests them. And what's at the center of my case is the right of all, for all, to speak freely and consistent with their deeply held beliefs.
And Kelly, I want to go to you now. Can you tell us what happened today at the Supreme Court, inside the Supreme Court and also outside of it?
Well, certainly we argued before the court today that free speech is for everyone and that the promises of the Constitution promise free and fearless reasoning to be able to think and create freely consistent with the core of who we are. And the government should not be able to force anyone to violate their core convictions. That's true for Lori, it's true for the LGBT graphic designer. All of us should be free to create consistent with our beliefs.
Yeah, and I know there was a bit of some disruption today outside of the Supreme Court. What did you see? What did you guys experience there?
Well, when we came out of the Supreme Court after oral argument, there was a large crowd. People were cheering. Everyone there were excited to be there because they were there for free speech. They know that their freedoms are wrapped up in Lori's, and that a win for Lori would be a win for them as well. So we were excited to be there, excited to come out, and we're very hopeful that the Supreme Court will uphold. You know, the Supreme Court has never compelled artistic expression, ever. And so we're hopeful that they will affirm this fundamental freedom that belongs to Lori and all of us as Americans.
Yeah, and Kelly, I know you say that the First Amendment argument really is very strong here. In fact, even Colorado's Attorney General, who's a Democrat, agrees with you. So I'm curious, how did this case wind up at the Supreme Court?
Well, you know, it's interesting you mentioned that because Colorado does agree with us that everything that Lori creates is custom. It's pure speech, that every time she designs and crafts a website, it communicates a unique and custom message. They also agree that Lori serves everyone, regardless of who they are, including those who identify as LGBT, and yet they claim the power to control her speech. That's frightening that they would argue that. They argued it again today at court, and those are arguments that are unprecedented. They're staggering, and they should frighten all of us as Americans who seek to live and create consistent with the very core of who we are.
Lori, what would you like to see come from this case, not just for yourself, but for other creative type people like yourself?
Well, this has certainly been a 6-year journey, and while it has had several hills and valleys, I have always been hopeful that the court will stand to protect not only my right to create consistent with my beliefs, but everyone's right. That right is also protects the LGBT web designer who should not be forced to create custom expression and artwork opposing same-sex marriage. So I'm certainly grateful for the opportunity and hopeful that everyone will be able to create consistently, because nobody should be punished for speaking and creating artwork consistent with what they believe, whether their views are same as mine or perhaps different.
And Kelly, when can we expect a decision, and how do you think the court will rule?
Well, likely we'll see a decision probably in the summer. Sometimes these things take a while. We could see it as early as the spring, but likely later in the summer is when when we expect a decision. And I'm very optimistic. I was very encouraged by how arguments went this morning, and I'm very hopeful that the court will affirm that no government can tell an American what they must say or what they must believe. They will protect the freedom of all of us to create consistent with the core of who we are.
We have a few minutes left. I want to pivot just a little bit, Kelly. I want to ask you about something, another case that really made headlines last week. And this is when talk show hosts and critics insisted that Justice Amy Coney Barrett recuse herself from this case because she is a Catholic and she is pro-life. As you know, Justice Barrett did not comply. I want to get your reaction to that.
Well, those accusations and suggestions were really despicable. No one should be disqualified from serving as a justice because of their faith. We should not have religious tests. That's religious discrimination to suggest that. All of the justices share different beliefs, and no one should be disqualified from serving on the nation's highest court simply because of their beliefs. So those were disappointing and clearly no reason for her to recuse herself whatsoever.
Well, thank you both, ladies, for joining us today. We appreciate it. We will continue to follow this case. God bless you both.
Thank you.